Hi, I'm Brian Russell, and today I'm going to show you a demo of our new multiple window crossplot option in the HRS9 R2 release. To save time, I've actually created this intercept gradient display from our colony data, which you may be familiar with from both our guides and our courses. I've also got an inverted data set I will look at later. Just so you know, we do still have if you look at the processes option, crossplot seismic, we still have the older or the current crossplot option, which allows you to really specifically define a range. But I think you'll find the new option is much handier to use. So to start it, I've actually started it already, but and you can see the menu at the bottom, but we actually go to View and click on Create Section Zones. And the first step to create a zone is to create a new set, and you can see it's already called it Set 2, which means I had created a set of zones earlier, and we're now going to create a new set of zones. So the first thing I want to do, actually I can create zones without actually looking at the crossplot. So creating zones is actually separate from the crossplot, but shortly I will turn the crossplot control on. Let's start by selecting the little rectangle box here, which allows me to define a rectangular zone, and let's define it around my zone of interest, which is right here. I can change the color if I want, but let's leave it as red. And in fact, let me start the crossplot control. I'll say Show Crossplot Control, and you'll see the window or the menu gets expanded. And I'm going to select this option called Feature Group, which allows me, a feature group is a preset group of volumes. And right now we have AVO A and B, or we have inverted. So let's do the AVO A and B, and we'll plot intercept as the X attribute and gradient as the Y attribute. And I'm going to launch the crossplot. And immediately you can see the crossplot window comes up. It's the same as our standard crossplot window, and this zone is shown. Now, so far it's not a lot different than the earlier one, except that I've defined the zone interactively. But look what happens. As I move this zone around, you can see that the actual points are interactively changed. I can also change the size. For example, I found a nice wet zone here where we can see that classic minus 45 degree trend in the AB crossplot. So let's move it back to where we started. And now let's go and define a second window. So again, I'll use a rectangle since they're simpler, and I'll go back and define it over that wet zone. And again, I'll change the color. Let's make this blue now, and you can see as I move through here, I can change that zone. And we can do that for as many data sets as we want. Now, by the way, we also notice this is a new approach in that we can now apply or create multiple zones. So for example, if I wanted to create a zone using a polygon, I could go up here and define a little polygon. Let's do it like this. Polygon in this case is very similar, and I'll change that to let's say different color here. Let's pick green. There, that set is blue. Actually, just make sure I've still got it blue, and you can see now I've got a third zone that I can move around. And by the way, we still have the ability to create zones from the crossplot itself. So for example, if I pick the rectangular option on the crossplot and pick a set of points here, oops, let's do that again. So I'll pick a set of points here. It says, do you want to display a seismic window with that? And now I can actually see that there's my definition of that zone, and I can include or expand it so that now I'm actually superimposing a zone from the crossplot back onto the seismic. So let's close this window down, and of course I can delete that zone. I can also go in here and I can delete this zone. So as I add zones, I can also delete them. And at this point, I can save this. This is AVO set 2. You can see. So let's exit out of here. And what I want to show you, if you want to display these, you can actually leave the display up, or you can remove the display. So, for example, let's say I go to View, I turn create section zones off. You can see those displays are still there. But if I go to the eyeball icon, get the menu, the interactive menu, I can go to cross-section zones and actually remove set 2 or unselect set 2. Say OK. Now, I mentioned that I also had a previously defined set. So let's go and have a look at that. Let's go to the project data, go to my inverted data set, and display that. Right now, last time I was looking at it was shear impedance. So let's actually change the color data volume to inverted VPVS, and actually let's change the trace data volume to inverted to actually P impedance, because that's what I want to cross plot. And now I'm going to turn on my section zones again. And this time I'm going to go back to the view option. I'll have a look at the cross-section zones. And now I'm going to go and look at set 1. Okay, so that you can see set 1. As soon as I pick one of the zones, you can see that it makes this live in the menu. I can say show crossplot control again. And now I'm going to say feature group inverted, and I'm going to cross plot as the X attribute P impedance and as the Y attribute VPVS. Now I launch the cross plot, and there's our cross plot. And you can see I've picked these zones before, but again I can move them around a little bit if I want. So if you look at it, the red zone defines the low VPVS values, probably the gas sand. Zone 2, it looks like some kind of wet sand. Zone 3 looks like perhaps some shales and a few wet sands. Now, before ending this video, I want to show you a few new features in our crossplot that you may not be aware of. For example, when we look at the menu, just by right-clicking here, I can show the X histogram, and let's use a different plot style. Let's do line area fill, and I can show go by histogram, show the Y histogram, and again on that I'll show the line area fill. And actually, to make it a little more readable, let's go in here, and axis direction here will make it down, and I'll also turn off the legend, and likewise here I'll turn off the legend and I'll say axis distribution left. So you can actually see the distribution of the actual histograms of the distributions. Now, future enhancements we're looking at are doing a Bayesian description of these zones and automatic zone picking and so on. But I think you'll admit that we've got a fairly nice feature here, and I encourage you all to use it. Thanks a lot, and hopefully we'll have a lot more to show you in the future.